today I have an absolute wonderful guest, and it is such an honour to be interviewing you today. I am with Eddi Reader. So how are you, Eddi?
I'm very well. How are you?
I am absolutely over the moon. In fact, I'm interviewing you, so I'm very well. Yes, so you have such a wonderful career. You're a singer, songwriter, solo career with bands as well. You have, honestly, your life is just mesmerising. So how did you start actually doing music and starting your career? How did it actually start?
I just think as a very young girl, I was attracted to the noise that my throat could make, and also the noise on radios and other people singing was really important, like the adults singing and the way it made them feel. So I think with all human beings, if something grabs you, you want more of it. So I was like that. I didn't have a lot. We didn't have a lot of money, but I was able to make sound and harmony, and I got a guitar when I was 10, and before that I would sing while I was washing the stairs or babysitting and putting kids to bed and sleep, and I would sing them to sleep, and I enjoyed the effect that music had on everybody in the room at a party. Or I enjoyed the way people I was quite a lonely girl. I didn't enjoy anything half as much as I enjoyed messing around with song and singing and learning song, and then when I got to show it off in school, for example, when I was about 8, I seemed to impress people with it, and I had no idea why, but I knew that I had something that I loved, and that it wasn't anything that I created. It just was something that got me.
Well, with songs, do you feel like they have to have a bit of, bite to them? Because you have a very, I don't know how to explain your voice, but it has a lot of bite to it. Does your voice? So when you choose a song that you're doing, whether you're writing it or you're going to be doing somebody else's, do you have to make sure that's a song for you? You feel like this has a lot of power to it, and it means something.
I think the power in any melody is the melody. So you hear the melody. It doesn't even have to be in your own language, and it could be just a melody. It could just be a little tiny 2-second thing, but whatever that is will open the door to the other stuff. And I think that's where the power is, and that's nothing to do with anything you can invent. That just comes to you. It's like a charge it gives you, and you can hear it in other people's work. Like, for example, I love that Billie Eilish song, the new one. I don't know the name of it, but she talks about till I die, I'll love you till I die. And just you can hear her using a melody that I've heard in other songs that I love. Harriet Wheeler of the Sundays uses it a lot in the way they improvise. And there was a little Korean girl doing some busking on TikTok that I heard, and I thought, wow, there I could hear it just in a little 4-bar phrase, that how she placed the vibrato and how she plays the melody. And it's those kind of things that give you the strength to open up doors, to investigate, find out if there's more. Sometimes there isn't any more, and there's only that one wee bit, and it could be an advert or something. It could be the old Star Trek theme tune that I used to love. I used to love just practicing that endlessly in the tenement close. So, and getting really high with it, like in my head and physically in my throat.
Would you say that music sort of is a thing that when you're listening to a song, it takes you along a journey, whether it's through the melody or the instruments or the words, or how the person is pronouncing the words, how they make it sound? It takes you through a story, it's a journey, it's an emotion. It affects people, emotionally. It's music.
It really does. Someone said, I think it was Paul Buchanan, said that it was something like when you heard something that you fell in love with melodically, and just the sound of it could just be the sound of it. The way the in the old records, it used to be the needle hitting the vinyl would make a kind of warm scratch noise. So it could be just that. But he said it made me want to say, I want to buy a bus ticket to wherever that is, the sound that you was hearing. And I think that is what it feels like. You're just listening and going, oh, where is that? I want to be it. I want to be in it. I want to hear it every day. I can do that for hours with a song. Hear it and then play it and play it and play it and play it.
That is so true. It really is. And through your earlier years, didn't you do a lot of like busking to meaning? Could you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, that was very, very scary because the only other two people in Glasgow that were busking in the centre of town were this old blind accordion player who was about 100 and another guy who was, he had a soft hat and he played the mouth organ. We called it the Muthi. And he stood outside the Boots the Chemist. And the other guy stood down at the corner of Suckyhill Street and Buchanan Street. And my friends, who were students at Paisley Tech, I think, they were, it is now Paisley University, they were called Croft and Bobby. And they played acoustic guitars and they always went to the cinema queues and they would play, when you used to have cinema queues that would go right round the block for a big blockbuster film, like Jaws or something. And they would play. And they would always invite me. They'd say, come and sing. Because before that, I was just, a singer at parties and friends' houses. And then, or my mum and dad's house or my auntie's house or whatever. And then, so I went with them one time and I couldn't stand it. It was too scary just seeing people look at you. And then my other friend Mark said, look, why don't we try singing at the Glasgow Barrowlands Market on a Saturday morning? There's lots of people selling 10-pence books and daft bits of junk. And it doesn't matter, we'll just play and we'll go to the pub and have a pint and then we'll go. And I was like, I don't know, I don't think I can. And then he kind of made me do it. I don't know how he did it, but he managed to get me. Anyway, that day, I could not believe how much money was being thrown at us. And I was about 17. So by that time, I was kind of out in the world and just discovering it. But the busking wasn't so much that I was doing it to make a living. It was just that it seemed to be a new experience. And what was remarkable in Glasgow was that it was highly unusual to have a wee lassie, nonetheless, never mind a busker. So people thought it was begging. They'd call it begging. And my auntie saw me one Saturday. I kept doing it every Saturday then. And then one time I decided to do it on my own in Suckyhill Street. And my auntie caught me and then told mum and everybody. They had a big meeting. They couldn't believe that I had shamed the family by busking. And we might be poor, but we're no beggars, was the thing I got called. So it was all a bit like, oh, look, I'm making a fortune. And then my dad would say, well, how much are you making? And I said, well, I only sung for half an hour and I made £100 in 50 pence.
God.
And he was like, and that was in 1979. He was like, the Joel money was about £27.50 per week. So it was kind of a lot of money. And I realised that, well, the thing about music is it doesn't really matter about what people give you in a sense. They're just saying we love that, we love that. So I ended up accepting that and thinking, well, this is the actual pure form of music when you play to ears that are listening and then they go, here's 50 pence. So I've followed that path all the way through, even with number one records and all that, and record companies, trying to convince them that I can sing to people and then sell my records. But that was really hard during the 80s, the 90s and the early 2000s. And then something changed. I think it was Spotify, free music, and people not paying for music. So then the record companies were out of business. But still, people like me exist because I can go to a crowd between 500 and 1,000 people, 2,000 people, it doesn't matter, a festival, and I can sing something that will get into your heart and pull it out and shake it up and put it back in better. That's what songs do, and I think I still got that ability. So that's where I live, and it's never ever been any different. I've never gone for the posh haircut or the big celebrity jungle get me out of here or anything like that. I just want to be able to sell you a song, and you don't have to pay for it. It's just like, I just want to have that feeling between me and a song, and I know that it just provides me. It's like what the religious folk would say, you know, I look after the birds and the flowers, why would I not look after you? So I kind of trust that, and I've just gone with my instinct with song ever since I was a little girl.
When you did
It
you
works.
Oh, God. Sorry, it paused again. I didn't mean to interrupt you. If it pauses, I think I'm not allowed to go in, but you know what I mean. You spent
Yeah,
a
you
lot
can.
of time inside France, did you, when you were playing music? And is that right?
Yeah, that was kind of like my apprenticeship. So once I started busking, my other friends said, you know, we can go to the south of France and pick grapes and busk at all the markets. And once I was more confident, I did that. But then I got to the point after about a year and a half in the south of France that I felt a little, I don't know what the word was. Maybe I needed a wash or something. I needed to get home, and I needed to figure out if I could actually make a living singing, like make a record, record it, try and turn it into something that maybe I wouldn't have to go and stand on street corners for the rest of my life, but I could maybe present a product, and then hopefully people take that home and have it for the rest of their life, long after I'm not here, or I can't sing or whatever. So that's what I was trying to do, is come back home. So France was good. France was good for just training me.
Yeah. That is the thing about music, is no matter what time in life, it's still there. The song's always there, isn't it? Once you get a recording or a video or whatever, it always still lives on, sort of thing. A lot of people...
It's there for life.
Yeah. A lot of people, I think, sometimes they're asking in interviews, how do you start in music, or, you know, what happens to get, like, you know, in the end or whatever. But what would you say for the middle bit, when somebody, like you're saying, it set you up and you're all, you know, ready, and you're thinking, right, how do I make the money out of this? How do I continue doing this to make a career out of it but still do what I love? What would you say for people where they don't know the middle bit, the next step, where they've got the talent, they've got the experience, but they don't know the middle bit? What advice would you say for that?
I think you just there's something about faith, and I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about having faith in yourself, that what you do you love, and not demanding anything of it. And what you will attract, like a moth to a flame, are all the ways to make it work for you and give you the abundance of life. So the abundance of life will always come when you're doing things with love. As soon as you start thinking, I'm not making enough, I want a big house, I want a Jaguar car, I want to be wealthy, I don't care about the music so much, then everything falls down. It's a little miracle that happens, and I can only say that it is probably difficult to see the future, but you don't have to worry about the future, because you have to think about, here's a song I really love and I want to record it and I want to send it out into the world, and that brings back audience, it brings back interest, it might even bring back the record deal. It might, even if it brings back the record deal, then you've got assistants to help promote yourself. So for me, it's like a ladder, so a faithful ladder. You have to trust yourself and trust that you're doing what you love, and not criticize it too much. You know, just, you are as you were made. There's nothing can change that. It will always be a part of this beautiful, glorious, creative energy that is the world. It exists. You can see it all around you. There's dark stuff and there's light stuff, but if you focus on the light, then you'll attract the light. You can't not. It's impossible. You'll be a light shining in a darkened room, and everybody will go, what's that? I want that, you know, and that's how it works.
Obviously, you're inside Fairground Attraction. How did that actually start off? You know, how did the name come about? How did you gather? How did it work?
I met Mark Nevin because I was looking for songs. When I stopped busking, I was looking for songs, and I wanted to be like Edith Piaf, the French singer, or Jacques Brel, the Belgian singer.
Oh, just while you're talking about French, sorry, I was just wondering, can you speak French then, if you spent a year there?
Oui, bien sûr, je parle pas bien français, mais je peux parler. d'accord, okay. It's okay. If I'm there for a while, I'll get back into the swing of it, but it's all by ear, nothing academic. Mais I can sing songs. Je chante les chansons françaises.
When you went to France, did you sing
Oh,
French
tu me
songs?
prends dans ses bras, tu me parles tout bas, je vois la vie en rose. I can do all that.
When you went to France, did you sing French songs, or did you like bring the English language in, or whatever? What did you do? I don't
Yeah,
know.
oh no, but they're massive rock and roll fans, the Parisians. I was mostly in Paris for 6 months and then all the way down to the south, but southeast. But you know, you could sing Johnny Be Good, way down in Louisiana, down in New, and they loved that. That would make a fortune. And I could sing Van Morrison songs. She's as sweet as Tupelo honey, or Brown Eyed Girl, or What a Marvelous Night for a Moon Dance. And I'd be singing that. And other ones. I don't know what else did I do. I did Bob Marley songs, Stir It Up. I did everything. And I enjoyed singing to people who didn't speak English, because they just got off on the sound. And that sort of proves everything to me.
I'm sorry, I'll bring you back to the question. I just wanted to ask you that before. I didn't want to miss that question. How did Fairground Attraction come on? Sorry.
Oh yeah.
Sorry about that. I just wanted to ask you
down
that.
a cul-de-sac. Yeah, so I met them after I came home, taking a bath. I was looking for songs, and I wasn't relying on my own writing at all, because I was a bit nervous about that still.
I suppose it's quite a thing it's personal if somebody says about something about it, isn't it, like writing? I suppose it can be scary. I suppose writing it, and you know, it's a thing that's so personal, and it's can be, when somebody says something about it, it can mean a lot, can't it? So I can understand what you mean by it being scary.
I wasn't prepared for that level of judgment that the world would give. I was a bit too scared of it. But when I did attempt it, I enjoyed it. And but then I was looking for approval a lot, and I know that if there are people you meet that aren't willing to give you that approval, so you could get wounded. And so I kind of just wanted to rely on that thing that I do, which is if you've got a good song, I will support you and I'll tell the world that you're brilliant, you know. So I met those Martin Evan, and I met a couple of other guys, James Atley, and there was another fella who was writing at the time, and I was just kind of dabbling, seeing what they had. Mark was much more attentive, and he turned up at my flat all the time, my little prefab. I had a bungalow that I got because my friend from Hill, Lou Edmonds, he had heard me singing and he wanted me to sing on his demos. So he gave me the keys for this free house in London. It was just a prefab hut, but it had running water and 2 bedrooms. And so Mark used to come a lot. Every time I came back off tour, and I did lots of sessions then. I did radio work. But I was getting bored with that too, you know, being just the side person and not able to sing the whole song, just a little bit of the song, or an advert was only a little tiny section. So I kind of was using my abilities, but I was using them to supplement other things. And I thought, I'm still not getting authentic. So I wanted songs that would present me and I could present them. And Mark was a bag full of songs, and I loved them all. And every story I told him, he related to, and he could bring back something that was very similar to what I was feeling. Perfect itself. I was very much a perfectionist, and I adored that whole idea of, no, it's got to be right. It's got to be right. It's got to be right. Not so much nowadays, but then I was very much like that, and especially with song. I had to hit the note exactly where I wanted it. I was absolutely hard on myself as far as not being flawed in my vocal delivery. So I was and also with boyfriends and that, I wasn't really interested. I just wanted to be in music, and I didn't want to have kids or family. But I fell in love in the middle of making the album, First of a Million Kisses. My boyfriend became my husband because I got pregnant at the end of making that album, and then I had another child with him, and it didn't last very long, but that was my French fella, and I just wasn't, it wasn't working. And then I had the whole of that being pregnant, being number one, supporting my husband and the kids, and then not really communicating well with Mark, because Mark is one of those guys that he will only do his songs or the things that he likes. He doesn't really invite me to write with him, or there was no exploration of that, and that was difficult for me because I'm a freer spirit, and that I wouldn't just limit myself to it. So for example, if I presented an idea for a song and it was rejected, then I just feel like I was being used to sing somebody else's work, and it was all right because I loved those songs, and I put a lot of editing work into those songs and a lot of musical arrangement work into those songs. But we just all discovered that, first of all, we didn't really know each other, and second of all, Mark's idea of being in a band is not the same as everybody else's idea of being in a band. Mark tends to want to be the leader and tends to want to tell everybody what to do, and it was just really difficult. Especially when you don't respect it. So if someone says to you, even after you've learned to drive, you've got to drive the way I tell you, and you're like, sorry, up your bakey, bye, can't do that. And not that it's a bad thing to be directed, it's good to be directed, but there comes a point where you have to be authentic to your own instinct. And if your instinct is being, I'll use these bits but not these bits, then you feel a bit unheard. And I definitely felt that. Although, recently we got back together again, and I hoped that we had all grown up about that, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. Everybody was exactly the same as they were when I left them 35 years ago. So it's kind of like you have to accept that. Yeah, and also there was part of me going, wake up. You have to start writing, and you have to honor your writing and honor your instincts. So that was a very short-lived experience, but I'm very glad I had it because it made a number one and a beautiful album. I'm very proud of that album. I'm very proud of capturing my vocal ability at that time. And I'm very proud of everything that happened after that. My records with Warner Brothers and RCA BMG, Mama was the first, and then Angels and Electricity and Candy, Floss and Medicine and Simple Soul. And then I moved back home to Scotland, and in that journey I did the Robert Burns album. So I'm very glad of everything that's happened. I can't go backwards though, that's obvious now. I tried to last year with Fairground Attraction, but I can't. No. It's just, I can see that it's really damaged and quite hurtful, actually. I noticed a lot of hurt and wounds and people resenting things, and I'm not used to that. I'm used to working with people that are very supportive, very caring, very loving, and very inclusive. If you don't have that in a band, you've got nothing.
No, thank you so much for sharing that with us. Everything you're saying just makes, it's very interesting, makes sense, and thank you for sharing that bit with us. You wrote a song that had a lot to do with your grandmother, which was about the dogs, wasn't it? And yeah. I watched an interview, and you were saying about loads of interesting stories about your grandmother, and I couldn't believe those interesting stories. Is there any stories you could possibly share with us, or any stories that inspired songs or anything like that? Because that's such an interesting story, just the story itself, how you made that song. So is there any stories you have like that?
I used to record her on set recorder, not my iPhone, just in the old days, 87 I think it was, or no, it was before that, 85 maybe, just before I was very, very successful with Fairground. And I've got the tape still, and I was listening to it, and she was just telling me about how important it was for her when she was a young girl, a young beautiful woman with her sisters, to go to the dog track and back the dogs. Not that I'm advocating gambling, but in fact it seems to me that there's a lot of that in my family, and I loved her enthusiasm for the bingo and the way she tells stories about Tralee, where she came from, and how she made it sound like Walt Disney World. And as far as I was concerned, my granny came from a place called Tralee in southwest Ireland, the county of Kerry, and in it was a a mermaid castle and and magical signs and wells that you could get water from that would bless you, and just I couldn't believe how many stories she had of that place. She always transformed my tenement derelict Glasgow and the streets that I was brought up in. She transformed them into paradise, just with the stories of she used to wash her face in the seaweed at the shore, because the tradition was that would keep you beautiful forever. And now they do seaweed wraps for like £200 a go. You could get them in the spa. So she was right.
You invented it. Well, thanks for sharing that.
Also,
yeah.
The 1st of May, you have to go to the dawn just as the sun's getting up, and you have to wash your face in the morning dew. That's on from the grass. Make sure no dogs have peed on it, but just somewhere where there's no dogs, and wash your face in the morning dew, and you will be beautiful forever. That was her advice. Oh. So she was born in 1902, and I think she knew a bit more than me.
Very natural beauty tips. Very natural.
Forget your Estee Lauder.
I was going to ask about
Go get some grass outside in the lawn.
Now you have an album called Vagabond, and you also have a song called Vagabond. Now I really related to this because I actually have a song called Vagabond, so I couldn't believe we both I couldn't believe that we both have a song that we have.
I must hear yours. You must send me yours.
Oh, I would definitely send it to you. So how did Vagabond come about? Because I think Vagabond isn't like too much of a popular word that's used, and I find that it's not like a popular word, and I find that you use a lot of interesting words you wouldn't normally know. So how did Vagabond come about?
Vagabond is French for slave to the wind or slave to the waves. So it means that you're just the free spirit and you're being pushed wherever the wind takes you or wherever the waves take you. And I like the idea of that for me. And also there was a poet called John Masefield, an English poet, and that was his poem. It was called Vagabond because it was about an old tramp walking around just looking for a place to rest his head and put a campfire up and have some nice company and sing songs, tell stories. And I just related very much to that character in the poem. Yeah, so we used the lyrics of that and put a tune to it, and I think it worked really well.
Yeah, it's funny how poetry and songs, it can be so, if you can write poetry, it's like they're both like sort of very similar, aren't they? Inside of a sense, aren't they? Because they can be used in both. Because songs you can use in poems, and poems you can use as songs.
Well, I love it. I mean, people like Wet Leg, they're almost just talking, and they're not using so much poetry. It's just, I went to the club, aha, da da da, and you're like, that's a song. Everything's a song. Can you get me a cup of tea, Mum? That's a song. It's in there. It's in the poetry of the actual. Just everything's in it. The desire is in it. The nuance is in it. The emotion is in it, and how you say it. Can you get me a cup of tea? It could be angry, or it could be, oh, get me a cup of tea, please. It could be all victimy, or it could be needy, or it can, it's just wonderful how we can use all sorts of sounds to make an emotional impression, and the emotional impression is the most important. Even if the words are gobbledygook,
Well, no, obviously, Beyond Radio is a Lancashire thing, and you're coming to Lancashire to perform. So, could you please tell us about that so everybody knows about it?
Yes, I'm coming to Morecambe to stand beside the Eric Morecambe statue, and then I'm going to sing to anybody that wants to come, and I'm kind of really excited because I don't get out the house often, and it's nice to get out the house. Thank you.
And what dates and where and times so everybody knows, and then where to find it as well. Just that, yeah.
You're asking the wrong female.
Oh, okay.
I'm not the wrong Ian for that because I'm mental about dates. I tell you why, because
I can edit it in if you want.
To worry about it. I just like but I think it's a good technique. Some people don't know a week before they're gigging, so that when they get to the gig, it's a surprise. It's like, oh, great. There's no time or chance to get nervous. You just do it.
That's very good advice, is that? That's I think that's really good. I can really relate to that. I did a performance literally yesterday or something like that. And I didn't know I was going to do it. And I had no nerves because I was like, I didn't know I was going to do it. So that is really good advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
you
is.
just don't know about it and you'll be fine. Yeah.
Some of the old folkies used to tell me, some of the old men, you know, in the folk clubs in 1979, they'd say, if you want to get rid of nerves, don't frighten yourself with what's going to happen, where you're going. Just get up in the morning and go, there's a folk club on Tuesday night, I'm going to go there, see what happens. But get to the back of the room and just be in the audience while the other acts are playing, and get to know that everybody is just you. So when you're up there, you're singing to you, and you lose all. I think the nerves fall away a bit better. You can still be nervous, but it won't be as devastating.
Well, I think I'm going to have to finish now because of Zoom. But
Okay.
thank you so
I love talking to you, Jane. Thank you so much. And I'm sure you're going to be a massive reporter in the world stage. In the next 30 years, you'll be going, I used to talk to that. I had an interview with Eddi Reader
honestly.
when she was an older woman. But good luck to you.
Oh, so much for Eddi Reader. That was absolutely wonderful to interview. It's absolute honour, and she's just such a wonderful woman. Has such a wonderful career. Absolute. I mean, look at just if you don't know much about it, which I'm sure you do, but if you don't, just look at everything. Look at every single song, because every single song will take you down a journey, and it is just wonderful to listen to. So thank you for listening to this, and have a wonderful day. And thank you for listening to my podcast with me, Matilda Walden, and today with Eddi Reader. Goodbye.